Welcome to Cozy Coven Chats with Jenny C. Bell, where we explore the journey of the witch. Hey, witches, and welcome to another Cozy Coven Chat. I am your hostess with the mostest, Jenny C. Bell. Actually, I'm not. Elvira is, but second to Elvira. And this podcast is for the week of November 2nd. And I know it's like an older person thing to say, but I can't believe we're already in November. Where has 2025 gone? I actually couldn't tell you. So November 2nd, we are still in the energy of Samhain and Day of the Dead for those that celebrate. And so if you were really tired or tuckered out or hopped up on candy and didn't do anything for Samhain, it is not too late. Like I've said before on here, think of the wheel of the year, the Sabbats, as energetic pie slices. So we just got into Samhain energy, and we're going to stay there until Yule, winter solstice. So you have this whole time to connect with ancestors. The veil is still thin. It's still thin, and I'm sure you're feeling it. You know, some of the symptoms of the veil being thin for sensitive people are being really tired and sore throats, seeing things out of the corner of your eyes, really intense dreams, just feeling of exhaustion or fatigue, feeling of other people's feelings. There's a lot with this energy, and you may even see it like pets or children act a little differently because they're open and sensitive. So if you're feeling that and it's overwhelming or a little too much, definitely want to spend some time cleansing your space and your energy. You know, it can be as simple as a selenite wand that you just like run over your aura. One of my favorite ways to cleanse, and I have the recipe in our coven, is to do a twofer. So I do a simmer pot, and then I use that in a baño or bath, a spiritual magical bath. So I usually add lemon because it's very cleansing, rosemary because I grow it, and like I've said before, all herbs are cleansing, but rosemary especially is very cleansing, very protective. And then from there, I always add salt. And then whatever else I feel like it. Sometimes rose, sometimes rue, just kind of depends. I put it in a pot, I let it simmer for at least an hour, I stir it counterclockwise, and then I let it cool, I strain it, and then I take a bath. So the way a magical or spiritual cleansing bath works is you should shower or bathe first with soap and shampoo if it's a hair washing day and all that. Then you get in the bath with just the cleansing, like if we're using a simmer pot. So you take the bowl that you strained and it's still hot, you pour it into the bath. Always add a little extra Epsom salt and then some rosemary essential oil, and then you get in the bath not using any soap because you already did that, and then you just soak. And really, I like to add crystals. I usually add like a smoky quartz because it's very cleansing, a clear quartz, sometimes a rose quartz, labradorite's good. Put them in the bath with you, pray to whoever you believe in, asking them to cleanse you, cleanse your aura, you, mind, body, heart, soul, and then sit in there for a while. Really envision yourself being cleansed. You can even put on like cleansing frequency music. I do that sometimes. And then as you drain the tub, imagine, visualize, or sense like all of the things that don't belong on you, all the energy just going down the drain. And then the key is that you don't like towel off. You kind of like let yourself air dry. You can put lotion on top, but you don't want to like rub off the herbs. So that's a very simple way to do a cleansing because you've cleansed the house with the simmer pot and then you cleanse yourself in the bath. So it's like I said, it's a 2-for-1. But there's other ways. There's smoke cleansing. It's very important if you're doing a smoke cleanse, in my opinion, to crack open the doors, especially like the door that you enter and exit from. I always just crack open the 2 doors that we have in the house. And you can do the windows too, but the doors are more important to me. And you can also hang fresh rosemary in all the doorways. You can also put rosemary under the bed. Rosemary, like I said, is so easy to grow and a big time cleanser. So if you're feeling the energies and they're too heavy, please take the time to cleanse. This week we have a full moon in Taurus on November 5th, which we're going to talk about. And then we also have Mercury going into retrograde in Sagittarius on November 9th, which is next week, but we'll still talk a little bit about it. But let's get our card. Okay. We have the Emperor. And the Emperor is very masculine energy, right? I'm using, like I said, my favorite for this right now is the Modern Witch Tarot deck. So it's all women. But this is like a boss babe energy. There's the Ankh that usually shows up in this card. And the Ankh is eternal life from ancient Egypt. But this person is always in like a throne, looking very authoritative, usually has ram's horns, right? There's something very masculine, regardless of gender, about this card. And so whenever we have these more masculine cards come in, it tells me this is a week of doing. And it actually makes a lot of sense. If Mercury's going to go into retrograde the following week, we probably want to get some things done, some emails sent, some conversations had, some travel arrangements made before everything goes to hell in a handbasket. Okay, just kidding. It's not that bad. Sometimes it is. I guess it just depends on you and your personal chart. Sometimes Mercury in retrograde is like terrible. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, this wasn't bad at all. Like, it just kind of depends. But anyway, back to the Emperor. The Emperor is always about logic and reason and authority. So, we are invited to be in that masculine energy, which is that doing solar energy. It's the energy of being in our power. It's the energy of doing and giving, not so much receiving and resting. So to me, this is a get stuff done. This is what it means, right? We are still in Scorpio season, which is a lot of times like a reminder about boundaries because of that stinging tail. And so seeing the Emperor show up with this authority, maybe it's a time to revisit some boundaries. We're getting close to the holiday season where a lot of boundaries get breached by in-laws or whoever, employers that take advantage of sometimes, take advantage of employees and expect longer hours. So double check those boundaries. Like, what are you willing to compromise on? What are you not? Where are you willing to put extra energy? Where are you not? Think about how you might have difficult conversations or maybe steer away from difficult conversations at holidays if you're not feeling it. So yeah, there's a lot here about, I feel like, masculinity, about positive masculinity, about boundary making, and really about personal power. That's really what boundaries do. They protect your personal power. And so that's something to think about. And then we have, like I said, the full moon in Taurus, which I love because I'm a Taurus sun. And I just love that energy because it's usually so cozy. Like, at the very least, on a Taurus full moon, it's a good time to make a good meal. I actually probably, this one just came to me. I'll probably be making my cordials for Christmas time to give away or to keep. We gave them away last year and people were not that excited for them. So I'm like, maybe I'll just keep them. But a cordial is basically flavored alcohol. So we got vodka last year and we did cranberries, orange peel, cinnamon. I wrote it down. I don't know what else. Definitely those three. And basically it just tasted like Christmas. It was absolutely delicious. I currently have a cordial that I made with elderberries, cinnamon, and orange peel that it's been taking a while. The cinnamon just didn't pick up. Basically with a cordial, I throw everything in there. Sometimes I put it in the fridge depending on if it's fresh fruit or not, and sometimes I don't. So you have to kind of do your research on that. Put all the yummy flavors in, cover with alcohol, put a piece of plastic wrap on top, put the lid on top, and shake it every day. And either leave it in the pantry or the fridge, but every week I check it. I take a little sip and, okay, yes, this is plenty of cinnamon, take the stick out, or, oh my gosh, this doesn't taste like anything, let's rev up the flavors. So I think, full moon in Taurus, it's a good day to make a tincture, a cordial, good day to bake something, be a kitchen witch. That's what I feel like all of us Tauruses are. Good day to maybe make an incense. I don't know. Feels like a crafty moon to me. It's like a little reprieve, a little comfort in the soul-searching, mystical, witchy time of Scorpio. So yeah, we have that full moon. It's also an opportunity for those of you who haven't been able to do anything for Samhain to do something that day, right? We're still in that energy and the moon is full. It's very powerful. So if you didn't get to do something, you were too tired, hopefully the full moon gives you some energy to do that. We also have daylight savings, which this has nothing to do with the show. But for those of you who are around my age, did you watch Pete and Pete on Nickelodeon? And if so, do you remember the time that it was daylight savings time and younger Pete decided that that would be a perfect day to time travel because you really fall back an hour, so it's like time travel? Ever since then, I have thought about daylight savings day as a time as being a little bit magical. It is a little bit like time travel. It's a little bit like a redo. So instead of thinking about, oh my gosh, I lose an hour, I think about I get a redo. And so one of our journal questions will be about that, about redoing. But we'll get to there in a little bit. Like I said, we're still in the Samhain energy. And that reminds me, if you'd like to join our coven, we'd love to have you. There are different payment plans. And right now, the annual and semi-annual payment plans are 20% off with the code SAMHAIN, which is SAMHAIN. And you can learn more about that at my website, jennycbell.com. Pretty much, I'm all over the internet. If you type in Jenny C. Bell, you'll find me. You'll find me on Udemy, on Substack. You'll find me on Insight Timer. You'll find me. So that's why I have the C. There was a lot of Jenny Bells out there. And I was like, the C is important. It stands for Christina, by the way, if you ever wanted to know. And so, yeah, let's talk about journal questions. And then I want to talk a little bit about, well, actually, let's do journal questions at the end. Let's keep our form. Let me talk to you a little bit about something that really helped me because I was talking about cordials and tinctures. I took an herbal class. And the herbalist, I can't remember her name, she said that instead of calling the fall-winter cold and flu season, we should really call it vitamin C and D deficiency season. So I'm going to let that sit with you. I'm not telling you to go buy vitamins unless you feel like you should. Definitely consult a doctor. But the sun, you're not seeing the sun as much depending on where you live. And we're not eating as much fresh produce. And so we get less vitamin D and C. So let's talk about where we can get vitamin D. We can get it in mushrooms. As far as I know, that's the only one that we can get it in. If you know more, please tell the show, text the show. And then vitamin C and all the citruses and stuff. But here, listen to this. As a forager, I know that we can get mushrooms at this time of year and we can also get rose hips. And rose hips are very high in vitamin C. So I always think nature's always got our back. She's like, I got you guys. You need this stuff. So instead of thinking of cold and flu season, let's think of it as vitamin C and D deficiency season. And then think to yourself, how can I make sure I'm getting more of that each day? And so it could be that when the sun is out, you go outside and you get some sun on your face safely, right? We're not going to stare into the sun. And then it's much easier to get vitamin C, right? What can I drink or eat that I have vitamin C every day? And for me, I buy a lot of frozen produce. So right now my freezer is pretty packed from our CSA. Shout out to Farmer Patrick. Loved the CSA. I'm going to do it all the time until he's like, I'm not doing it anymore. Have really thoroughly enjoyed it. And something I did every week with the box was freeze something for later, like a little squirrel. I was like, I'm going to cache this. I also fermented a lot of vegetables. So I have so many jars of fermented pickles and radishes, beets, and carrots, which are my favorite. Just my favorite way to have a carrot is fermented with garlic. So good. But anyway, so there's no shame in buying or any problem with buying frozen fruits and veggies. In fact, it's probably a good way to get through winter, to make sure you're getting the fresh produce, Don't deprive yourself just because it's not seasonal. We live in a modern society, right? So you want to take care of you. A lot of people in our coven, when I asked about what they liked about this time of year, they all talked about soup season, which is so cute. Partly because I eat soup all the time. Like, it's always soup season. I don't know if that's the little cauldron witchy Taurus in me or what, but yeah, it is definitely soup season. I want to share one that I did recently that I think is super easy. We're vegetarian, but this can be made with chicken. But basically, you take the ingredients that you'd put into a pot pie and you put them into a crock pot and you let them cook all day as a soup. And as a thickener, I added a can of cream of mushroom soup, but you could do like the roux and all that. And you don't want it too thick because you kind of want it to be a soup. And then you bake biscuits, or you can do canned, or puff pastry, or bread, or something at the end, and you put that on top, and that's like your deconstructed crock pot pie. So good, and so much easier than regular pot pie. So that's a soup I'll be returning to. I always make split pea every year multiple times, make a lot of vegetable soups, make a lot of like Asian noodle soups. But yeah, that one, that's the new one. It's going into rotation. Okay, and so yeah, we talked a little bit about all those things. I would love to know, or have you think about when we talk about journal questions, is what does cozy mean to you? So let's just, like, before we get to journal questions, that is a journal question. But I want to ask you that. I asked about it in our coven. Cozy with a Z or an S, depending on where you're from. What does it mean to you? Because we're going into the Burr months. We are in the Burr months, right? September, October, November, December. And I think one of the ways we thrive in those months is by seeking out coziness. Because it can be, people really, seasonal depression is real, holiday stress is real, and these months can be really difficult and challenging for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. But if we can focus on coziness and like inviting that into our lives daily, that can be a balm for BALM, a balm for all the other stress or depression or other things that creep up in the darkness of the year. And so, yeah, what does it mean to be cozy? What is coziness for you? So for me, it's big, warm clothes. Like I love a crew neck sweatshirt. It's my favorite. I love wool socks. I didn't know I love wool socks till I moved here from Southern California to the PNW, and I'm like, my feet are always cold. I love my electric blanket. I love warm drinks. I love warm hugs, just like Olaf. I love candlelight because, you know, we don't see the sun. It gets dark so early, so it's nice to have candles around. I also love fairy lights, and, you know, even when it's not Christmas, I think fairy lights add a lot. I love a fire. Yeah, I love good smells, definitely. And just, you know, try to invite coziness however you can. So that's your first question, is what does it mean to be cozy for you? Like, maybe make a list of, like, I find these things cozy. I remember one time we had this conversation with, he was my favorite principal I ever worked for, but we were talking about comfort food. And he's like, what does that even mean? Like, how can food make you comfortable? I was like, okay, obviously you're not a Taurus or an earth sign. Like, what are you talking about? Like, some food's like a warm hug, buddy. So yeah, that's another question. What are your favorite comfort foods? And make a little list and get them to be in the house. Like, don't just eat them once a year. Like, all of winter should be comforting for you and nourishing. Now, if your comfort food tends to not be super duper healthy, then not as often, right? But like, if your comfort food is like chicken noodle soup, you should be having that more. If your comfort food is, you know, macaroni and cheese, you know, there's ways to make it healthy, like sneaking in butternut squash, things like that, where you're not like just having the cheese and carbs. Not that there's anything wrong with that. My kids are huge macaroni and cheese fans. So yeah, what are your comfort foods? How can you invite, this goes back to our Emperor card, how can you invite confidence and logic in this week? And you might want to also make a to-do list this week. This energy feels like we got to get stuff done this week. And then also, let's think a little bit about Mercury going in retrograde. What are some things, we're going to really continue with that to-do list. What are some things you want to get done before Mercury decides to mess with you? Mercury goes in the microwave, as my bestie says, right? And messes with us. So let's make that to-do list this week and try to get prioritize it and try to get things done. You know, just to make the next couple of weeks are easier. Mercury goes out of retrograde into direct on the 29th. And I feel like last Thanksgiving time it went into retrograde, kind of messed with people's travel plans. So keep all of that in mind when planning this week. So this is the week of to-do lists. This is the week of getting things done, but also at the same time, deciding what cozy means to you, deciding what comfort foods are important to you, and trying to balance all like this to-do energy with the coziness. I hope you have a great week. I hope you have a beautiful Taurus full moon. If at the very least you don't have time for anything, have a good bite of chocolate for me, okay? So I hope you have a great week. Blessed be. As always, thank you for listening. Please subscribe and share with a friend. If you haven't already done so, be on the lookout for my book, Spirit Crystals. Discover your crystal guide for healing and empowerment. Available wherever you buy books.